In 2016, a vote was taken in the United Kingdom as to whether the country should remain part of the European Union. This was a very important vote because the UK had been a part of the EU for 43 years. There had been growing discontent about the number of immigrants entering the UK from the EU. The economy was not doing well, and the UK was forced to buy products from the EU, forcing them out of trade with other non-member countries. Northern Ireland, as part of the UK, voted to remain part of the EU, but the majority of UK residents voted to leave and overpowered the small country. Leaving the EU brought up many past issues in Northern Ireland. The 1998 Good Friday Agreement softened the border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic, which meant that there was peaceful times and there were free movement of people and trade. This free movement of trade was stopped when the UK officially left the EU, since the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland is the only land border between the UK and the EU. Goods crossing the border would be subject to checks, which meant that a hard border would be required. Many people fear that this threatens the Good Friday Agreement. To solve this problem, the Northern Ireland Protocol was created. The NI Protocol placed a trade border in the Irish Sea, between Great Britain and the island of Ireland. This meant that there would be no hard border in Ireland, but unfortunately this border has broken up the UK and made residents living in Northern Ireland feel foreign to the rest of the country. This has created huge problems. One serious problem that has occurred due to the implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol is the transport of medicine between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Before the NI Protocol, goods were able to flow freely between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. But now pharmaceutical suppliers in Great Britain are facing increased costs for labeling medicines destined for Northern Ireland, because the country remains within the EU's regulatory system for medicines, despite most medicines for the region coming from Great Britain. Medics in Northern Ireland warned that the NI Protocol threatened healthcare delivery because the increased cost of relabeling medicine for the relatively small population meant that many UK suppliers refused to deliver to the country. To solve this problem, Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister of the UK, introduced the Windsor Framework. The Windsor Framework is a modification of the NI Protocol that adjusted the Irish Sea border and removed the part of the border that separated Great Britain from Northern Ireland, meaning that the border only appeared between Great Britain and the Irish Republic. With this new framework being put in place, drugs approved by the UK medicine regulators will automatically be available in Northern Ireland. This is crucial because the most affordable and most effective medicines will widely be available for use in the country. With all of these issues occurring after the Brexit referendum, it is possible that the decision for the UK to leave the EU was not the best decision when looking at statistics. For example, this graph shows the United Kingdom's gross domestic product since 2019. As seen, other major countries' economies within the EU experienced positive growth, while the United Kingdom experienced an economic decline. Another goal set by the UK government when they left the EU was to make trade agreements with other non-EU countries such as New Zealand, Australia, and Singapore. This graph shows that even with the UK's newfound freedom to make such deals, they are still unable to reach their goal of 80% of their trade coming from agreements outside of the EU. Other non-EU member states were able to negotiate an agreement with the EU, which has consequently allowed them to be part of the EU single market while still remaining a non-EU country. This agreement is known as the European Free Trade Association. The EFTA, which consists of Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein, allows its member countries to trade industrial goods among themselves, while also allowing the countries to maintain their own commercial policies to countries outside the group. Like Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein, the UK would be able to solve their trade issues by acceding to the EFTA. This would allow them to have free trade within the EU's single market. This increase in trade would result in the UK's GDP to increase. Many of the UK's trading issues would be solved, and joining the EFTA would remove many of the trade barriers involving the Northern Ireland Protocol. This would mean that there would be no need for a trade barrier between Great Britain and Northern Ireland.